Welcome, everyone. I got a bit of a delay, but hope this works. I'm using a new system this time. So, actually, you let me know. Can you hear me? First of all, let's start something easy. Can you hear me? There's like, yes. Rob Schaefer says yes. Loud and clear. Haley, what's up, Haley? All right. Awesome. I love it. People already coming in. Welcome. Let's see. Let's put a little music. All right. Welcome, everyone. We'll get started shortly with questions and discussions. Going to be here till 7 p.m. Pacific. Let's see, where's everyone tuning in from? Type it in the chat box here. I'm gonna be this is where we'll be posting all the questions, links, resources, anything that you like to share. Put it in the chat box. But let's kick it off by just simply, letting us know where you are tuning in from. So we got Rob Schaefer from Los Angeles, of course, LA, the Bay Area, Maryland, nice, Calabasas, Long Beach, Sherman Oaks, of course, a lot of West Coast people here. I know there's more. Yeah, type in the chat box. The thing is here, not only will I be answering your questions, I want you also to use this as a way to connect, meet new people. So, obviously if you're in the same town, great. But if not, look, you can connect, right? And stay in touch. That's why I like to do this. Again, it's not just here me answering questions. Obviously, it's a community discussion. We can all chime in. But also want to offer a space for everyone, a safe space for like-minded people here to connect and hopefully this, grows your network or simply, just make a new friend, right? Atlanta, I love it. LA, Woodland Hills. Oscar, hey, from Silver Lake, all right, what's up, dude? LBC Eddie, ¿qué onda, güey? New Jersey as well. I used to live in, I spent some time out there. I used to live in West Orange, New Jersey, and then moved to Astoria, Queens for a bit. I do not miss the weather right now. But I love it out there. I love New York. I love Jersey. I really liked the 5 years that I spent out there. Anyways, look, who's new here? Who's the first timer? Let's see, first timer. Let's get warmed up here using the chat box. First time being here. I used to call these, almost 6 years ago. I started doing them. It was called Afternoon Tea with Hollywood Editing Mentor. That lasted a couple years, and then I tried to rebrand it a couple months ago. Call it HEM Connect, and you know what? I'm just sticking with it's a live Q&A and networking session, just so people know what it is. So stop trying to brand this. All right, Rob, first time, welcome. Lindsay, first time. Patrick, first time going live. Awesome. Well, welcome again. Like I said, this is get your questions ready. I'm gonna be answering some questions. Just what's on your mind? We're gonna be talking shop here for about an hour. And also, feel free to again, chime in. That's the thing. I make these also, make this a safe space where people can, not only ask questions, but participate. It's so important. It goes with networking. It's about putting yourself out there, contributing to conversations, because that is very important as we are, say, out there, trying to grow our network, trying to find work. That is very, very important, and I'm sure this will come up a lot probably today, because I certainly talk about it almost every day. But that is, one of the most important things, for finding work, especially at a time like this, right, where there's not much of it, and there's a lot of competition, and now more than ever. I mean, it's always been the case, right, for this industry, but now more than ever, we have to be out there networking and not being shy, just being able to, again, participate, contribute to conversations, and about anything, not only just about, say, work, but just about, getting people to, or letting people get to know you, communicating your interests, likes and interests, asking questions, being curious. Again, so this is a safe space you can practice. I believe in that. I used to do that a lot when I first got to LA. When I was kind of learning about like the proper way to network, would go at a lot of events and I just put the reps in. I put the reps in as far as like just going up to people, starting a conversation. And look, I wasn't always good at it, and so that's the thing. I practiced. I just went to a lot of events and just got over my fear of just going up to people and starting a conversation. And I grew my network that way. Made a lot of good friends, And so I understand. Again, it can be difficult. Some people really don't like networking. And I get it. It's exhausting, man. I get it. But it is beyond important. Especially now the way things are going and are heading. Lina, ¿qué onda, amiga? Me da mucho gusto que estés aquí con nosotros. El compa Jorge López. Or George. I don't know. I've known like that for 5 years. I don't know what he likes. We'll do both. Raul Hernandez, I feel things slowly picking up, at least here on the East Coast. That's great. Great. Look, I do think, man, I mean, look, no one knows, right? Obviously what's going to happen. No one has a crystal ball, but, I'm still very optimistic. And I do think that things will pick up, this year. We'll see, right? But Raul, thanks for sharing that. I was talking to my agent yesterday, and there's definitely stuff coming down the pipe. I mean, like there's definitely things out there or that are going to start, and yeah. So again, we'll get into that. I'm sure people have questions about that. Definitely something to discuss. Jesus, primo, hola. Unfortunately, this time, so I'm using a new system. I don't have a way to put up the comments like I used to. I know I'm going to miss it, and I'll just probably go back to that system for the next time. But I used to be able to have like a banner where you could see people's questions, and what I was answering, you could see it on the screen. So maybe I'll have that for the replay. I'll just have to do it manually. But we'll see. Yeah, Raul, networking is super awkward at first, but you have to keep in mind that everyone feels the same way. It's not just you. Yeah, that is true. That is true. That's the thing. It is like everyone is. That's the thing. I think what you should know about networking is that in this industry, and again, whether you're working in scripted and unscripted, commercials, whatever you do, you're always networking, right? I mean, like it's just part of your job description. You got to be good at networking, and so everyone is doing it. I think that yeah, maybe for some people it might be more uncomfortable, more awkward, but in general, like just having an understanding that yeah, that's just part of the game. Like it comes with the territory, right? We all got to do it. It's just the way, I guess, how you do it, right? Is key, and knowing how to doing the proper way. Because I always have seen people say trying to do it and goes kind of in another direction. But there's a way to do it. Certainly stuff that I talk about through, Hollywood Editing Mentor. Check it out, HollywoodEditingMentor.com. You can check out the website, tons of resources, including this YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, definitely hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos in the coming months, getting back into it, doing more videos. So make sure you subscribe. And also check out the podcast. Going to be doing that again. I kind of step away. That's the thing. I step away when I'm working. Obviously when I'm cutting a show or a film, whatever, I step away. I got to take care of that. And then when I'm in between gigs, and I come back and do this. I mean, that's just the way I'm doing it now, right? It just that's finding a balance. And so definitely looking to create more content. But again, HollywoodEditingMentor.com. If you have not checked it out, a lot of stuff on there. Tons of great stuff. And look, again, if you're new here, again, welcome. My name is Joaquin Elizondo. I'm an ACE editor, a member of American Cinema Editors. And I've been working in scripted film and scripted TV. Oh man, I think since 2016, 2017, around there. But I used to, for like 15 years, I was editing unscripted, like news, documentaries, corporate videos. I started doing wedding videos. So I did everything, man. But I always wanted to work in film and scripted TV, and finally did it. And decided to start, this platform to help people just kind of navigate the industry. Not just, say, it's not just people say wanting to work in film and scripted TV. It's just like people who are, interested in editing and having a career as an editor or assistant editor working in post-production. So I've done it now for over 20 years. I've been working just in broadcast media. I was originally a videographer and an editor. I originally at school wanted to be a cinematographer. And then eventually, a couple of years later, ended up being a full-time editor. Anyway, so I've been doing this now for a while. So of course, just created a platform for all those people that are just, again, trying to make this a career, right? And so, just it's based on a lot of my experiences and a lot of the questions that I had, say when I was starting out, and then that they continues to still, to get. And so I've just, made a podcast, a YouTube videos, a blog posts. I mean, I've made courses. I mean, tons of content just to give back to the community because a lot of people helped me out, to get to this point and to just have a healthy, editing career. So, so that's a little bit about me. I worked on shows like recently I did The Abandons for Netflix. I worked on Griselda, Dark Winds, Narcos Mexico, The Hot Zone Anthrax. In scripted, I started as an assistant editor. So I worked in features, in scripted TV, and then got bumped up to an editor, to being an editor, like in 2 years. And so I've dabbled in, again, documentaries as well. So I've done a lot of stuff. So, I have a lot of experience, honestly. I have a lot of war stories and definitely have, just been through a lot and now looking to use that experience to help out those that are coming up or also just want to, again, like just kind of navigate this career or want to level up their career. So anyways, a bit about me. So look at here again. I want to take your questions. The way this works, honestly, look, just put it in the chat box. Put it in the chat box. You have a question or a topic that you like to discuss here in this next hour. Again, I want you guys to connect. Joel Salazar, ¿qué onda? He says, I recently talked to a well-established editor who told me he regrets not networking early on. Yeah. Look, I understand that because when I started, like, say, back in news, like in San Diego, like I said, over 20 years ago, like, I guess my time, say, when I was in San Diego, then I went to New York, for a long time, I was working steadily. Again, other things besides, film and scripted TV. And I was always working. I always been working. And I just didn't feel I needed to network. And so, for early on in my career, I just didn't do it. And I gotta say, I regret also not doing it early on. And so, because I don't know, who knows where it's taking me, right? But it took me, say, when I got to New York, when I became a freelancer, that's when I started kind of like, well, you had to, right? To survive, you had to network and find gigs. That's the thing. I was always a staff worker for like 10 years in San Diego. And then, in New York, becoming a freelancer, I guess that just, woke me up and said, all right, I got to be out there hustling and networking. But, I still kind of like didn't understand how to network properly. I was always kind of like, just going to events and like, kind of like asking for work. It's like what you don't do. I made a lot of mistakes. And it wasn't until I got to LA, like going to a bunch of events and just kind of being out there and realizing, okay, like this is about like, building relationships. And also, I was a little shy, look, yeah, sure, I can be social and whatnot. But then like when it comes to like these types of events, I got a little shy. And so again, that's what I'm talking about, like just kind of putting in those reps and practicing. And I think like something like this helps or can help. But yeah, look, I agree. I wish I started sooner. Danny, ¿qué onda, compa? All right, we got a question here from Danny. It says, if you want to work on a show you like, do you recommend reaching out to editor, assistant editor, or post supervisors who really gets to bring you on? Well, it's a good question because it could vary. I mean, I'll just go back to when I was an assistant editor. And I would reach out to, I guess all of the above, because for example, I would reach out to editors first of all, right? And see if anyone kind of like, well, I didn't reach out just to be like, hey, like I want to work with you or this and that. It was more about like genuinely asking questions or expressing my interest. Say, if I did hear about like a show that was going on, or if this person had worked on a show that I liked, I just always kind of like made it about, them, right? And I was genuinely excited to talk to them and wanting to ask questions. And so I was always like trying to get people on the phone or Zoom calls or coffee meetings. And I gotta say, I was good at it. And a lot of people, not everyone, look, trust me, because it doesn't, some people just won't reply to you or won't answer your questions or won't talk to you, right? But I gotta say, a lot of people definitely invited me to like say coffee or like to their office or whatever, and I got to meet a lot of editors that way. And then that maybe like, for example, then like would like recommend me to someone else and they pass me on over to like an assistant editor because I wanted to be an assistant editor, even though I had edited for years, but I knew I felt that it was easier for me to break in as an assistant. And so they would, again, pass me onto their network, right? Or I would meet with assistants, right? And it's also good to meet with assistants because they're kind of like the gatekeepers and they know, say, what's happening, right? Who is looking for assistance. Back then, I didn't, even though I did reach out to post supervisors, maybe that was kind of like the last on my list. And I'll say that I kind of maybe should have reached out to more post supervisors. And actually, that's kind of what I try to do now. So look, to me, it's not just who's best. I think it's like really, identify who is going to like, I guess, who is, first of all, who can you connect with, right? Whether it's either one of those positions, and just reach out to them. And if it's all, say, 3 of them or 2 of them, by all means do it. Like, why not, right? I don't think there's like really like who's better. I mean, like, because you never know what opportunity could come up. I reached out to, say, some post supervisors when I'm an assistant, not a lot, but some, and I was able to get gigs that way. So I remember like on one show, for example, I got hired. There was an editor who was on the show that did not have an assistant. And so the post supervisor, hooked me up with this editor, right? That's how I got onto that show. Back then, for example, like I was working on Netflix stuff or projects as an assistant. And back then, like, kind of Netflix was starting out. So like a Netflix credit on your resume was like great and stood out. And so, I would send that to like, post supervisors and like they got their attention, So you never know. Um, I look, just go all out, Um, but great question. Let's see. Thank you, Danny. Raul says, I've reached out to assistant editors who worked on shows, movies that I like. It hasn't led to a job, but I've made connections with them and they gave me great advice. Exactly. That's the thing. It's not just about finding that gig, right? Because this is like you got to play the long game. Like, I mean, it's about building that network. That's the thing. And maybe like an opportunity is not going to come right away, but maybe down the line. Trust me, it has happened to me. I mean, I've gotten hit up people that I haven't talked to like in years. It's like 10 years. And suddenly, boom, they reach out. Hey, man, are you free? Are you available? Yeah. All right. So that's the thing, it's not just about finding work. It's about just in general, especially when you have that downtime where you are in between gigs, use it. I know you want to find work, but don't just make that the priority, right? I mean, it's just think about it, just like growing your network, meeting people and say maybe who they can refer you to, maybe they can lead you to someone else, or maybe suddenly they hear of an opportunity, they think of you, like, because usually it's like, who did I last talk to, right? And then, okay, boom, Danny, whatever, I know he was looking. You just never know. Oh, thanks, Danny. I know he says, love the abandons. Really great tension all the way through. Love the female leads. Awesome, man. Thank you, man. That was a really fun show to work on. Let's see. Yeah, Raul, networking isn't about getting jobs. It's about making connections. Absolutely. Connections, building relationships for sure. And it's fun, man. Like, you never know who you're going to meet and you make a new friend, How was your holiday break, Joaquin? My holiday break was great. I ate way too many tamales. Spent going from, family gathering to family gathering, hanging out with friends. It was a lot. It was a lot of fun. It was exhausting, but I had a great time. Thanks for asking. How was yours? How was everyone's holiday break? Yeah, and then he says, I agree. Need to bolster the connection again because I exhausted my reach for check-ins. I get it too. Look, and there, yes, networking is exhausting. Trust me. Yeah, no, I get it. But again, it's just, it's part of the gig. So, also understand that, yeah, say if you are getting exhausted or, you run out of contacts or whatnot, like, it's normal, but also, the important thing is, that's the thing. It's like to grow your network. It's also to meet new people. That's one thing I'll say is like, don't get just stuck on your regular network. Obviously, nurture that, but don't forget that you also gotta grow out of that. Meet new people. You gotta be constantly growing that network, adding new people to it. So if you run out, say people reach out to you or checking in, all right, well, it's time to meet new people. Rob Schaefer, last January, I made new connections because I'm trying to move over to scripted from unscripted. I kept in contact a few times throughout the year, just checking in to see how they were doing. That's it. That's all. That's all you got to do. It's like, obviously like the easy ones are like, say, the holidays, right? You just check in, say happy holidays and whatnot, or the new year. But, you don't have to wait for that. Just whenever you kind of maybe, remember something about the person, or just simply saying hi. Hello, how are you doing? I'm doing great. I just did this. I wrapped the show. I saw this movie. I don't know, whatever. Keep it short. But check in, stay on people's radar. And Rob, look, if you're looking to get into scripted, obviously, go on HollywoodEditingMentor.com. Got a bunch of resources that is going to help you do exactly that. Tons of stuff. See, I love the questions. Type in the chat box. I love all these questions. This is great. Oh man, see, look at it getting. Oh, someone just got said they got stuck in traffic tonight. They won't be able to be here. But appreciate you sending the email. Let's see. Oh man, I love this. I love questions. This is awesome. Here we go. Okay, this is a good one. The last time I reached out, this is one I get a lot. The last time I reached out, I didn't get a reply from a few of them. What do I make of that? Should I not reach out to them anymore? How do you know when to get the hint? No, look, that's the thing. Don't take it personal. Some people, it's you don't know what they're busy, whatever. You don't know what's going on with them, right? So don't overthink it. Honestly, don't overthink it. And I look, but I understand because I've been there. And you just kind of, don't let it get to you. Don't take it personal. Literally anything could be happening with this person. And I think it is worth checking in again. I would wait it out, at least 2 weeks, maybe, it does not hurt to reach out again. And maybe you have to read the room, depends on your relationship, I guess, with this person. But, I've been in situations, say, I don't get a reply, say right away. And then like weeks later, it's like, oh man, like, sorry, I forgot to reply or whatever, or whatever. Like they won't reply. And then like, I'll reach out to them again a couple weeks later, or more, like months. And then like they'll reply. So maybe like, maybe they just forgot to reply to that first email. Or maybe they're going to do it. They just forgot. I don't, who knows? But that's the main thing. I think the main thing is like not letting it get to you when someone doesn't reply. And again, I understand it because when I first started out, I was like, oh man, like I was like, had the worst thoughts, right? It's like, what is it about me? Oh my God. It's like, what, dude, like, you don't know, like it literally anything could have happened. And so, just don't overthink it, move on. Right. And so now I would reach out to them again. And then see at that time, for me personally, if they don't say the second time, don't respond, then I kind of let it go, or not. I've also like some people like I'm honestly, sometimes, I'll just reply. Like I'll send someone will reply and I'll just, I'll send them emails, say every couple of months, and maybe they don't reply, but hey, I'm staying on the radar. You never know, right? That's how I look at it. Again, I just don't overthink it, and I'm always respectful. I'm not crossing the line or anything. And I guess unless someone tells me, hey, don't reach out to me, I got the green light, I mean, honestly, I'm not being disrespectful. People are busy. All right. Raul, I got my first job in early 2022 and it lasted for a year. I felt like I made it, so I didn't network during that time. I regret that. Really hit me hard once that show wrapped. Yeah, that's it. And I understand it because sometimes we just get in that comfort zone and we feel like we're just cruising. And, another big lesson has been, for me, again, like, since I've been doing this, was that it's an ongoing thing and it never ends. It's almost like, again, like I said, it's just part of the gig. Like you sign up for this, that's like, part of the job description, and the skills that you got to have because it literally never ends. It never ends. And so if you are working, always maintain, nurture those relationships, reach out to people, just again, stay on the radar. It's not, you don't have to make it about work or anything. It's just literally just checking in, saying hi. For example, like, all right, let me just give you an example. The other day I reached out to someone who I know is a Niners fan, 49ers, right? They beat the Eagles recently. Sorry, Philadelphia fans. And I just say, hey, what's up? So reaching out, hello, happy New Year, blah blah. How about them Niners? Excited? Awesome, man. Well, hey, let's catch up soon. That's it, right? But it was like I was genuinely like, yeah, all right, hey, I remember this person because of the Niners, and then so it's just natural, right? But there's nothing behind that. I'm not asking for anything. Literally, just saying hi and keep it in touch. Lindsay, I plan to move to LA within the next year as I've been connecting with post professionals. What's a way to make continued communication a more effective way in getting my foot in the door? Well, I mean, look, that's the thing. It's like, say if you're not in LA, I encourage people, say, who are thinking about making the move. It's just like, yeah, you're doing it. I mean, like, just, obviously contacting people, trying to get, say a reply, say via email or whatever, but also like maybe getting if you can get on a phone call or a Zoom call, that's excellent. But I think it's important to also, like, if you're planning to do this, like, I don't know if you've done it, but like set up meetings, like come out to LA, come out for a couple days a week and line up meetings, right? Because that's the thing. Me personally, for example, someone tells me like, hey, if we connected, for example, and then it's like, hey, I'm really serious about this. Like, I'm gonna go head out to LA. I'm gonna scope out some neighborhoods, and I just, I really want to see people in person because I'm just close to doing this. Wondering if you meet up for lunch or coffee. My treat, again, very important, right? And I just think, obviously, I mean, the majority of people are going to be like, wow, this is, wow, Lindsay is serious about this. This is awesome. I personally, I respect that, right? And so, but I think it is important to come out here. First of all, just to get a feel for the city, if you don't know yet, neighborhoods and stuff like that, like line that up. But like, really, like setting up meetings, and just letting people actually see you and lets them know that you're like really, really, really like hardcore, like serious about this, But again, look at, if you can come out here, although I encourage you to do so, like, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, just keep making those contacts, keep staying in touch. The key thing here is staying in touch with people. And that's where I see a lot of people don't do that. It's like, they make one, say, contact, reach out to someone initially, and then like, that's it. Definitely stay in touch. But I do hope you make it out here, Lindsay. John says, I like asking editors for advice instead of just asking for help. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, it's, yeah, I think, that's, you can approach it many ways, right? But I mean, it's like, just asking questions, like being curious, like, I mean, like say what you want to do. I think it's like, look, I get a lot of emails, and I know people want help and they are looking for jobs and whatnot. Like, again, going back to what we were saying earlier, that we know this is just part of the gig, right? We know that this is what we do. We reach out to people. We try to grow our network and whatnot. And so, people just ask me like, hey, literally, how did you do it? Or what do you, what did you, what did you do, say, when you were trying to, break in or whatever? And look, now for me, like, that's the thing. Like, now I can, like, literally, what I do is, like, I have so much content that I could, like, and I get a lot of the same questions, right? And so now I can, me at least, can guide them, to say, send them a link and send them to a video, a podcast episode, a blog post. I mean, I literally could just be like, here you go. I can tell them to watch one of these replays, right? I mean, like, so there's a lot of stuff there, right? But it might be different for me. But I agree. Yeah. I mean, just showing people that you're curious, right? Not necessarily asking for like something like, like for help, I mean, or a job, definitely. But that you're just looking for advice. You're looking for guidance, It's crazy how like, there's just and again, one of the reasons why I created my platform is there's a lack of information. And I get it, having all these questions. I mean, I think everyone that like does this or works in this industry, at whatever capacity, understands that this is a lot of stuff is just like they expect you to figure it out on your own. It's not stuff that a lot of stuff they don't teach you in film school or college. So there's people are always going to have questions. When I got to LA, I had tons of questions. I was like, what? The union? What's the union? Right? And I didn't know what the union was. And so I met someone, I remember, like, I had a beer with them out in Sherman Oaks. I remember that. And taught me all about the union. I wouldn't have known. And that's one of the reasons why the first video, and my most popular video, is how to join the union. Because that's the thing. A lot of stuff, there's not like information out there, right? So, ask for advice. Ask for advice. Be genuine, and again, I think it's just understanding that don't expect anything right away. This is a marathon, not a sprint, honestly. It takes time. For most people, I mean, like others, whatever, but don't worry about other people's journey. Focus on your journey. But understand that, this can take time, say to build those relationships, to get a job, to break in, this and that, but you got to keep moving forward. Just keep pushing forward. Hola, Jacqueline. Jackie Perez in the house. ¿Qué onda? Let's see what else. I love these questions. Man, time's flying. Yeah, Joel, at least you're in the sphere of those people. That's the thing. It's like being on people's radar. That's the thing. That's so important. Hey, Rick. Says, if I can say something that's really helped me out within the networking mindset, most get into the thought of just getting in front of as many people as possible, but making that genuine connection. Yeah, it's, definitely quality over quantity. These have to be meaningful connections, right? And I think for me, and what I suggest is say when you reach out to someone, it's I think, say whatever, an assistant, an editor, whoever, is just finding something to connect on, right? Or connect with, or just to praise, say some of their work, projects that they worked on, because it's just going to be a more natural conversation. You're going to be more genuine. You're going to be more excited, more curious. And it's just a better chance to say that kind of becoming more of a relationship versus just kind of a contact or whatnot, So it's not so much. I mean, I definitely encourage to keep growing your network, right? So in that regard of quantities, you have to have a healthy network, but really focus on the quality and show your interest. And again, that's why I say to stay in touch. Sometimes, I'll receive texts, from people that say, hey, my child was born, I'm so excited. Hey, congrats. That's it. It's not about work or the industry, nothing. Again, or going to sports, hey, whatever. We talk about baseball or anything, right? And it just might be something that it'll remind me of someone. A couple weeks ago, I was listening to a song. I think it came up on my playlist, reminding me of an editor. Just reached out, send them the link to the song. I'm like, hey, just playing this right now. That's it. That's it. Yeah, and following up with them outside of when you're looking for a gig is key. That's the thing, because I've shared this story a lot, but I've been in rooms where, say, like I'm with producers or other people, and like they'll get an email or a message, whatever, and I've heard people say like, oh, like this, this person only looks or reaches out to me when they're looking for work. So don't do that, right? That's just, again, just stay on people's radar. Jesus El Primo says, favorite part of networking is making new friends. Absolutely. And, especially like being, right now here, like in this space, or if you're out or wherever you are, it's like you're definitely gonna meet like-minded people. Very high chance of like you're gonna meet someone who likes the same stuff that you do. We're all creatives, right? We all love this stuff, and so very high chance you're gonna find someone that you connect with on something, whatever it be. Again, movies, music, sports, food, craft beer, coffee. I don't know. But it's so important to be part of these events, and whether they are virtual or in person, and you have to do them. Darren, hey Joaquin, how do you leave a steady gig very suddenly for a better career opportunity without burning the bridge? I mean, I think, well, the way that I say leave a look, I'll say this, like, you don't have a lot of control over, like, say, burning a bridge, how people are going to feel about you leaving. The important thing is that you understand that you're going for a better job opportunity, right? It's about you. You got to take care of yourself, right? Understand that. But say leaving a job, but what I would do is, first of all, have an honest conversation and describe maybe why you're excited about this new opportunity. Obviously, you thank them for say that the time you had with the company you're leaving. Just be honest. I mean, right? You be honest, and but help find the replacement. That's the one thing that I don't want to leave them hanging, right? Like I would make it like, a point to find them someone to replace you, right? And to, if you have to like train that person, and just kind of go a little bit above and beyond. That's how I am, and so that's how I would handle it, but understand, because I've had I get these questions also a lot. I've had a lot of these discussions, and understanding that, yeah, look, man, you got to take care of yourself. You got to keep continuing to grow your career. So it's okay, right? That's the first step. And then, but just, try to like, just kind of leave it in a good place by finding them help, that replacement, really making that extra effort to find someone, right? And suggest that, right? Suggest it. Maybe sometimes, and look, that's the thing. What I'm saying is that sometimes, yeah, man, people are going to be offended. You can't control that. Like you can't control that. And if you might burn a bridge, right? Who knows? Who knows? I think, though, and this is, and I'm telling you because I've had this discussion a lot, and I've also, like, when I share this advice, and then I hear back from this person, and I've heard from people say like, you know what? Oh yeah, it was a kind of shock to them, but in the end, they knew that I wanted this new opportunity, or wanted to go in this direction, and they are very happy for me, and they are understanding. And that's the thing. It's like, if you're with the right people, and people are going to support you and kind of, keep pushing you forward, great, right? But I mean, if that's not the case, if someone is like literally pissed off with them, well, that's your answer. That's not the right group to be with, right? But it's important, again, just to look out for yourself. But yeah, I would just try to kind of find a replacement. Outside of that, I mean, I'm sorry. Like I don't control your feelings. Oh man, a lot of questions. Woo! Let me take a drink of water. You fall when you quit, so keep at it. A huevo. Hello from Los Angeles, Anthony McBride. Yeah, Danny says, "Hello. Sometimes I also text if I have their number because a lot of times they have admitted the email got lost and it's nothing personal. Yeah, you just never know. Some people are just not good at replying. Like if it's not work, like some people just are not connected to email. I mean, that's the thing. I'll say that. Like, for example, like when I'm not working, I mean, I do try to disconnect a little bit, because like when I'm working, I'm between Slack and email and editing. I need a break, so I do take a break. I don't get reply to people right away. So again, normal. Ooh, see, Oscar, from your experience at the highest level, what's the most valuable advice you give assistants or emerging editors? Man, there's a ton of advice, and I think like it literally changes every day because it depends how I'm feeling. But one piece of advice that has always stuck with me, and like that literally like changed my life, in my career. I mean, like, was to not make it about like the money, right? And so what I mean by that, because like for many years, for example, that's why I spent like 15 years like lost, or like I went to college. I went to study, film. That's what I always wanted to do. But I went to University of Michigan, came back to San Diego, and I thought that, for example, like I just success was just making a paycheck, like finding work, right, and this and that. And so for many years, I just was taking jobs because they would pay me, right? And it wasn't until I met two highly respected filmmakers at different points in my life. The first time I met Cameron Crowe, I was doing a job I was shooting a mini documentary for San Diego City College. He went to school there. And I asked him, I was like, hey, what do you, any advice for me? I want to do this. And it's like, hey, just like, don't make it about the money. Like the money will come later. And at that time, like, I was like, I didn't understand it. I still made it about the money. And then like years later, like 9 years later, whatever, I met Joy McMillan, and she said the same thing. And I'm like, what? All right, now I get it. And so it was tough because like I was used to a certain lifestyle at that point. I was older, right? I'm gonna sharing a lot here because it's all connected. But like I was older, and so it was tough to kind of go back to this kind of, being frugal and like, I was used to editing, and I was like, oh, I go be an assistant editor or work on like these, work for free, this and that. But then like, that's exactly what I did. And I just kind of started from scratch, and I was, I started assisting, like say as on low budget features. I was like making, peanuts, but I was so happy. Right. Anyways, but like, that's the thing. It's like, that was 15 years. And so I wish I just from the get-go, like, and this is another piece of advice, it's just like it's important to define your goals in general. But like, if you could, obviously early on, and again, one of the reasons why I created this platform is to because, when I graduated college, I just didn't know I could do this. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what to do, right? And so it's important to like from early on try to define your goals. I know like maybe say when you're graduating from college, like you still don't know what you want to do, and it's fine to explore, but at some point you have to pick a path and understand that you gotta just, if you gotta go all in, right? If you want to do something, I believe that. And so pick a path instead of like what I did was just like going down a bunch of paths, right? Because I was just making money, right? And so early on, I wish I just would have defined that and said, all right, this is what I want to do. This is what I dreamed of and why I went to school for this. And now it's like, I'm going to figure it out. Obviously now not just myself, but like there's a lot of resources now out there, right? There's no excuse now. But I'm just saying, like, to have that, just define your goals early on, figure that out, figure that out, and just, invest, time and energy, into that. And then again goes, and also the networking, like that, getting good at it, like mastering that, right from the get go. And like I said, like I regret not doing it, like say early on in my career. And so those are just a few things, right? But I think that those are like the main ones that I think that, to me, for the most part, again, changed my life, changed my career. And I think also, like, just like, look, this job is hard. This industry is tough. Understanding that, right? And it's like, if we love this, we're gonna do it. We're gonna find a way, and we're just gonna keep pushing through, right? And again, there's a lot more resources now to help you out, but you got to understand what it takes, right, to do this job, to, like, say, be a freelancer in general, right? And being comfortable with it, because understanding that, look, as artists, right, creatives, like, it's historically it's never been easy, right? But if we love this stuff, we're gonna do it, and we have to find a way to just keep pushing through and finding those little wins. And that's the thing. When I was starting out in LA, it was those little wins, and like that one reply, right? For example, that's like, all right, wow, I'm moving forward. That's one extra step, boom, and just going and building on top of that. Not being afraid to fail, for sure. For a while, I was always like afraid of taking risks. And that's how I learn now, right? Nowadays it's like, all right, yeah, poof, I just fall and just get back up, and I've learned something. Don't be afraid of that, to fail. Don't be afraid to fail. That's the big one as well. You got to experiment, try things, be curious, fail, learn. That's the thing. Don't just fail and then, all right, it's cool, whatever. Like, you got to learn and then get back up and just keep doing it again differently, finding a different way. But I could keep going on and on, but that's just a lot of stuff that I think, for me, the main things that have, like, allowed me to just, find my calling, my passion for this is what I always wanted to do. And I did it. And I didn't think it was possible. It took me a long ass time, but I figured it out. And that's, again, why I created a Hollywood editing mentor. So you don't have to go through that. You don't commit those mistakes, right? And just deal with frustration, whatnot. And in this event, right, is just to have these discussions, ask questions, or it can point you in the right direction, meet new people. Again, it comes from my experience of just trying to figure life out. Still doing it, by the way, but I'm getting there. Good question. Oh, we're talking football now, huh? When the Chargers left San Diego, that was it. I was done with the NFL. So not gonna jump into that conversation. I'm just waiting for Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl. Man. Rob is asking if anyone in LA likes playing pickleball. Let's go play. Yeah, you guys, any pickleball fans here? Hit up Rob. Patrick Norman, trying to move into scripted after 20 years cutting docs. Planned to AE, be an assistant editor first, and came close a few times, but was always rejected by studios solely for not having scripted credits on my resume. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, like, yeah, definitely studios will ask, for an assistant's resume. They want to know if you have experience. And that was the thing. That's why, and I still recommend it. I broke into scripted as an assistant editor, even though I had been editing for, 15 years. But I figured that it was just going to be less challenging, had a better chance of breaking in. And also just because I wanted to learn the ropes and like just learn the language, right? As an assistant. But that's the thing. It's like, I know I started off doing like, say, low budget indie feature. Sure. Like, I wasn't making a lot of money. And that's the other thing, advice, talking about financial management. Like that's why I bring it up a lot, money. I was able to say, for example, like save money and build that cushion so I can then take these like low paying jobs, scripted jobs. So now like, yeah, because in my resume, it had everything. It was a mess. Like you would look at it and you're like, well, what does this guy do? What does he work on? Especially in a town like LA, right? Because I was always like this one man band, and like just doing shooting, editing, all this stuff. And so then I'm like, all right, let's not make it about the money. I'll just build a cushion and then I'm going to go get these credits. Right. And so, yeah, sure. Like they weren't, big features or huge scripted TV shows, but they were scripted and they were legit. And of course, you know how to present it on your resume or when you talk about it. Right. So, I never had that problem. Once I started building my scripted resume, right? But I had to do it that way. So it was kind of more of a long-term investment, right? I say, all right, I'm not gonna get my big break right away, but I'm working to get to that, going in that direction, and just kept going. I would, again, working on low budget features, like really low budget, like tier 0, like, I couldn't pay my rent. And then like I would go and like help, on a scripted TV show for like, a week or two. And I'm talking about like stuff like, it was like, I remember like when YouTube Red was the thing, so stuff like that, but again, it was, it was scripted. It had recognizable names and just little by little until, I got my big break. But it was never like, oh, yeah, sure. If they would have looked at my resume from before, it would have been like, yeah, hell no. Right. But then it's like, all right, well, sure, YouTube Red, but it was like, oh, scripted TV series, this and that. Okay, cool. They're good. This is a good question. A lot of good questions. They've all been great. I love it. Thank you. So Patrick says, it was hard enough to get studios to take a chance before. Now it's seemingly everybody available. Getting a shot seems impossible. Do you see any viable route to jump to scripted these days? You're right about that. You're right about that. Yes, a lot of people are definitely available. A lot of well-qualified people are available. I still think, and this is in general, I think just moving forward, here's the thing though, it's always been like this. That it's about your network. I think a lot of people are going to be hiring now more so than ever within their network. It is going to be a lot more just about who they can trust, who they have good relationships with, right? Who does good work. But I mean, like honestly, it definitely is about the work, but it is more about just the trust and that relationship. So again, it goes back to my point of building that network, right? So I still think it's possible. Now, in general, no matter if you are connected or not, like in general, you're still going to face the same challenges, right? Because it is right now, like just we're living through a tough time. There's not a lot of stuff happening. Although I'm going to say that there is stuff. There is stuff. Trust me, I know this. Like there is work out there, but it's everyone just kind of looking into like their networks, direct networks. You're not obviously seeing it like before where it's like, we're just calling people, hey, I know this job. Hey, if anyone is not like that. We're not there right now, but definitely it's just like you got to be in those networks. You have to be in there. And so maybe if you are starting out or trying to break in, it's going to be, maybe you're going to have to invest more time into this and work harder than someone else who's been doing this for a while. But in general, I still do it. I still got to be out there networking, right? I'm not just cruising. And so that's the thing. It's like I can't stress enough just the importance of networking, right? Just, well, more so now. So no, I don't think I do not think it's like over and like, oh, right, you can't do it. I don't. Now, yeah, is it challenging or, right now? I mean, yeah, but it's like that for everyone. I trust me, I know people who are, much more qualified, not qualified, but just have been doing this longer than I have probably a bigger network than I do, and they don't have work. Like, it's just right now, that's the thing, it's just things are just really uneven. It's not that this is like over by any means. It's just like things got to get sorted out. It's just a mess, right? And so that is what the hope is, that it just things stabilize sometime this year. But I know people. I mean, look, man, I know people. I know people that haven't worked for over a year, and they had always been working like for 20 years, whatever, and like suddenly, and another, other people maybe have also just like not been in the game that long, and they're working. It's just you don't know. But the one thing I do know is that the importance of just building that network. And I'm just a broken record here, but it's the truth. I mean, that's how it is. So you gotta get comfortable with that. Danny says, I've recently been told to start sending cover letters when applying or sending a resume, since competition is higher now. Editors are looking at CVs to really cover letters to really see who you are. And yeah, look, I mean, I think anything that will help you stand out, and definitely like a cover letter, or like whether it be, say, on as a PDF document, or like in the body of the email. I agree. You got to stand out, in some way. And I think, and I've always said this, it's like one way to stand out or a way to connect with people is talking about, say, like personal interests, right? So, even in, I'm a big fan of like putting hobbies or interests, say, on my resume, or like, for example, if I'm going to reach out to, like, I do your research. That's the thing. This is why. And I'm saying this, what the time that this requires, because I say, do your research. Like, if you're going to reach out to someone, like, get on Google, like, see what they're up to. Because not only say the stuff that they've worked on, say shows or whatnot, but maybe, if they've done interviews or if they have a website, whatever, you find out like other stuff about them, right? If, I don't know, they're like musicians, or like, again, what sports teams they like. An interesting fact, because trust me, I've done this where I like, for example, like someone cut a film, right, that I like, and I'm just going to, who cut this? All right, and I Google them, and I see a bunch of interviews. All right, because I'm generally interested in just, the process of filmmaking, and I like hearing people say how they, did stuff, how they cut things, how they, anything, cinematographers, sound designers, composers. I love the process. I just love hearing about how shit is made. Like a cooking, like anything, right? So I'll go down the rabbit hole of like, say, maybe looking at interviews and like, all right, I'm reading, and then suddenly, I don't know, this happened to me where it's like they talk about something, a place they visited, or, like, I went to Mexico City last year and it was awesome, or whatever. Like, I love baseball. Who knows? And then they say, all right, cool. And then I'll make sure to reach out to them and then mention that. Right? But that takes time. It takes time, but it's not. You're not just sending like this kind of mass kind of email, resume, cover letter. It's just very specific, and tailored to a specific person, a specific company, a specific job, and that in itself takes time, right? So you got to make time for this stuff. You can't just be cruising. That's the thing. You just can't be cruising, especially now. You got to stand out. And usually one way to stand out is to kind of talk about or connect on, say, like personal interests. Rob says, I was editing reality TV, but I'm totally down, and I let people know that I want to start as an assistant editor in scripted to learn. Excellent. I love it. And that's the thing. Going back to Oscar's question about advice, it's like, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, another thing I recommend is just simply being comfortable putting yourself out there. Like, you have to be putting yourself out there. And, participating in conversations, again, virtual or live. You just cannot be the quiet one. And in fact, that's someone, an editor told me that, it's a piece of advice early on. It's like, don't be the quiet one. And I get it now. You cannot be the quiet one. If you're starting now, or even if you are, for example, you are an assistant already or are a working editor, you can't be quiet. You got to contribute to the conversation. Right? You got to let yourself be seen. Know people that you're there. And again, it's not just about, talking about work, but it's just like, hey, who are you? I want to get to know you. And you're part of the team. Like, you're part of, the community. You're contributing. You're not just kind of sitting back and watching or listening. Don't do that. In fact, as an editor, for example, it's a huge part of our job is to share our opinions, and see what's working, what's not working. Let's see. Who's going to go play pickleball with Rob? Any Bay Area folks? Raul, I honestly think 2026 is going to be the beginning of a bounce back for the industry. I agree. Isn't it also the year of the horse? And that's the kind of like about like starting all over, or reigniting things. At least what I was told. But yes, I agree. Again, I'm still optimistic. This is a good question. Eddie says, hey, Joaquin, you mentioned adding small scripted gigs to your resume. How do you describe it to show the attention and creativity you put into it? I tend to over-describe. Well, I typically like try to like, put like, with projects, it's like, and back when I was starting on like small stuff was like, it was more about like adding like recognizable names or companies, right? Or just like, even like, for example, like drawing attention to say like a project was scripted. And so maybe say if it wasn't like something that's like recognizable, it's just more of a personal project or whatnot. Well, how can you spin it, right? I mean, we don't want to lie here, right? But getting really creative as far as like how you can present this and say, because it is a scripted project. Sure, maybe it wasn't like this big budget thing or whatnot, but like, how can we just guide someone attention to this and say, all right, this person has worked on scripted things, right? And so like, how would I describe it? I mean, I like to put kind of short, concise bullet points, and depends on like, say, what your say titles on your resume, right? I mean, like, were you an editor? Were you an assistant editor? Because there's two different things, right? So for example, like, say if my resume lists me as an assistant editor, well, I'm going to be talking more about like, say, project organization, maybe assisting with like, sound design, 10 VFX, turnovers, delivery, managing multiple episodes, taking notes, communicating with my editor, and as an assistant, like for example, like as an assistant, like what I would do, because I love coffee, and like I would have my pour over set. I would make pour overs in the office because I love pour overs, right? And I could bring it to the office. Of course, I would pick people's attention because you could smell the coffee, and then just it would go in my room, and you would see it there. It just grabs people's attention. And I would also offer, say, my editor, like, "Hey, you wanted me to make a cup of coffee, this and that." So, like, I would also kind of, I would also list that, say, on my resume, that I would do that, or that I, was like, I like to run marathons. I was, I play the drums. I do that recently, but like, things like that, not the main part, but just somewhere in there, right? To add my personality to it. And so then like, say like, if I'm say an editor, then I would definitely lean into like, say, storytelling, right? Crafting a story, meeting deadlines, communicating with, showrunners and directors and, stuff like that. So it's like kind of like problem solving based on like, say your title, right? And solutions that you've provided, right? Wins that you've had, right? Maybe list like awards and stuff like that. But it's only supplemental to like, say your outreach. It's not just like, here's my resume. It's like also kind of like how Danny was saying, like, bringing up kind of like a cover letter, if you can kind of share something more about yourself, things like that. So don't just like simply rely like on just like your resume alone. I'm not saying you do that. I'm just saying that it's not just about like, just here's like the resume. It has to, the resume and like the cover letter or your communication has to tell a story, and it has to give us insight into like who you are as a tells us more about you and your interests and who you are. Yeah, Raul says, I'm trying to make the jump to scripted myself, and I honestly wouldn't even mind going down to a post PA to do it. May not be viable for everyone, but I see that was investing in my future. Yeah, I was willing to do it, and I was back then was like, yeah, I was. If it would have happened, I would have done it. I was able to break in as a assistant editor. One of my students used to work in finance. And, he was older, like, I mean, like around my age. And he, realized that, hey, he always wanted to work in film, and like, finance wasn't his thing. And he was able to break in as a PA, a post PA. Now, this is someone who has like a career in finance for, probably 2 decades, right? And suddenly said, you know what? I want to do this scripted thing. And I said, hey, well, I think, would you be open, for example, probably have a better shot if you're a post PA. And he said, well, I don't have experience. And he literally had no experience. The guy was in finance. We were able to just rebuild his resume using, say, the skills that he had from finance, and how then understanding what the skills were required, say, for a post PA. Again, what is it? Like, organization, like, tracking stuff, building Excel sheets, getting lunches, this and that. Okay, well, how can I bring that experience to now a post PA, from finance to being a post PA? And he was able to break in as a post PA and was just happy, right? Now, again, this might not be viable, he said, for everyone, but yeah, it is a path. Jesus would always come over because he would smell the coffee. I thought you actually wanted to hang out, man. You're just like, oh, give me some coffee. Oh, Haley says, I do pour over coffee. I love it. Yeah. What kind of beans do you use? I mean, I I typically like a medium roast. I like the Central and South America beans. I'm not a huge fan of, like, say, Ethiopian. I think they're like too fruity, too light for me. So I lean towards just, again, Mexico, Central, South America, medium roast. And I used to have I have my favorites I, in LA and San Diego. Um, yeah, we can do this we can just geek out here about coffee. What do you like? Oh my God, time flew by. This was amazing. This was great. I'm definitely gonna be doing more of these. Typically used to do them like once a month. So if you are here today and you signed up, you will be notified when I do the this next live Q&A networking session. And you got my email. Hit me up. Stay in touch. Or give me feedback. How can I make this better? Let me know. But yeah, this is awesome. I mean, like I was gonna go till 7, and we got past that, and it's just flown by. But so gonna be wrapping it up soon, cause yeah, I've been at the computer all day. Jesús, primo, nos vemos. Luego cotorreamos. I don't know how many people here speak Spanish. It's something that I've always, since I started this, people have been asking me to do Spanish language content. I think I'm gonna try it out this year. We'll see. But I've been getting hit up for now for like 6 years. Like, hey, where's the Spanish stuff? Yo hablo español, Raúl. A huevo. Yeah. So I'll see. Colombiano. David, yo hablo también. Eddie, yes. Okay, all right, there we go. All right, so there it is. All right. Oh, salvadoreño. Oh, mano, we got from all over. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna try it out. I wonder what the first video will be, but good to know. Good to know. I've always wanted to do it. All right, any last questions before we sign off? This was excellent. Again, thank you so much. Really appreciate your participation. I hope you were able to also connect, and definitely stay in touch. And I'll do the same, and we'll do another one. Trio Bastian, that's a record. I like Phil's coffee, Haley. Yeah, I was into Phil's for a while. I get it every once in a while. Not so often now, but I had my Phil's coffee phase for sure. My favorite is Tesora, and the what is it? The iced mint mojito. I'm down with that. All right. Hey guys, look. Hey, I'm gonna sign off now. But again, thank you very much for being here. This was excellent. It just flew by. And I do hope that you can make it to the next one. You'll definitely know when that's happening. And check out HollywoodEditingMentor.com. Again, I said a bunch of resources there. A lot of answers to your questions. I'm sure that you'll find something there that'll be helpful to you. Check it out, HollywoodEditingMentor.com. And again, hit me up if you have any feedback, any requests. I'm going to get back to doing more videos and podcast episodes. So if there's something you want me to talk about or do a video on, hit me up. Let me know. Again, stay in touch. You know that, yeah, like I don't, don't think like, people always like, oh, I say like, I don't want to reach out to this person because I don't know what will happen. I don't know what will happen, but like, I'm cool with it, right? So yeah, reach out, stay in touch. I love feedback, suggestions, anything. There is. Oh, you guys, I love seeing the people connect here on the chat. I love it. Thank you, Raúl, David. LG Films. Danny Muñoz, saludos. Haley. Genius Films. Eddie, saludos, Eddie. Raúl Hernández, el primo, los primos. Who else? All right. Yeah, follow each other. Stay in touch. And again, I'll do the same. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your evening. I'll see you at the next one. Again, my name is Joaquin Elizondo, the creator of Hollywood Editing Mentor. Check it out at HollywoodEditingMentor.com. I'll see you next time.